Oh, fan theories. Most of them are baseless, useless, and dumb. And yes, I myself am guilty of coming up with a couple of my own theories about Demon Slayer specifically, but I do that mostly for fun. I'm not building my own headcanon and attacking anyone who says that my theory is stupid. But there's a darker part of the internet, where hardcore fanatics will downvote you for doubting their ridiculous statements. And today we're gonna talk about one of those. So I am of an opinion that Muzan is an idiot. Mainly because he had a million opportunities to kill Tanjiro but wasted all of them, because he monologues like a cliched villain, and also because he could have just turned all the Hashira into demons. Let's focus on that last one, shall we? A lot of people online seem to think that there's a lore explanation as to why Muzan hasn't turned pillars into demons. The argument goes something like this. Firstly, aside from Muzan, only Tamayo and the upper ranks can turn people into demons. And secondly, Yoriichi made it so breathing prevents demonization by slowing the blood flow, and the stronger the user, the more time it would take for them to turn. And since Hashira use breathing techniques, that would give them ample time to keep fighting and unalive themselves before turning, making all efforts meaningless. It's easier to just kill the pillars and be done with them. That's why Akaza did not give blood to Rengoku, since he would have just finished himself. Plus, Muzan is tsundere and he doesn't need Hashira that resist his blood. Okay, I'm not gonna argue too much with the first point since it's mostly true. However, we saw demonization only from Kakushibo's and Doma's perspectives, so we don't have enough examples. Just because someone from the upper rank can turn people into demons doesn't mean they all can. So Akaza might not be able to turn anyone, and it's not clearly stated or shown anywhere that this is an ability they have, so we cannot make this conclusion. Now let's tackle the second point, that Yoriichi made it so breathing prevents demonization somehow. But first, let me remind everyone who Yoriichi is. It's that Gary Stu from the flashbacks that managed to defeat Muzan, the creator of the breathing, who taught it to all the demon slayers of the past. Prior to this, they had to fight demons as ordinary people, with just some combat training. They were still formidable fighters, but the breathing was like a level up. However, none of the dialogue boxes on this page, or in the manga as a whole, say anything about preventing demonization. And don't forget that Yoriichi had a brother, Michikatsu, who was also a slayer and a breath user, who later turned into a demon at his own volition. No one forced him, and you've probably seen that demon. But he said it takes more than 3 days to turn a breath user into a demon. That means the breathing slows the process. Imagine how long it would take for someone who's actively resisting. Doesn't that prove this theory? Nope. He did it willingly, so it doesn't make sense for him to use breathing here. So why did it take 3 days then? Well, you should have paid attention. When Kakushibo gives blood to Kaigaku, he mentions that it would take 3 days to become as powerful as a strong swordsman. It doesn't mean that demonization itself takes 3 days. So Kakushibo could have been turned right away. But Muzan, fearing that he'd die from blood overdose like that chick, just gave him separate infusions over the course of 3 days. That's a pretty good deal. You take the first dose on Monday, wait for the body to adapt, then the second one on Tuesday, and the final one on Wednesday. And voila, you are now a powerful demon. Seems legit? The only caveat here is that you need a lot of blood to turn a breath user. It's not specified how much exactly, but Muzan can clearly control the amount of blood that goes into his targets. So the excuse, Hashira would turn slowly and have time to commit seppuku, makes no sense whatsoever. But if you think about it, you can stop the blood flow using breath, so it's possible to delay demonization, right? Sure, slayers can stop their own blood using breath. We had multiple examples of this even throughout the anime, but it's not gonna help against the injected blood. Let's look at an example. Here Muzan claims that Tanjiro wasn't breathing, his heart stopped, so no blood flow, and he still was able to inject his blood into Tanjiro and instantly turn him into a demon. But he didn't have breath! So what? It would not have stopped the demon blood that is not part of Tanjiro's body. On top of that, the injected blood is being controlled by Muzan himself. Enough said! By your logic, this chick shouldn't be turning into a demon, cause she wasn't breathing, just squeaking a bit. But she's not a slayer and cannot control the blood flow. it would not have made a difference. Even if she could control her own blood, she wouldn't have been able to influence the demon blood. Kaigaku and Kakushibo turned willingly, so there was no need to pump them full of blood. After all, it could have killed them. But when a person is being turned forcefully, that's not really a concern. If they die, then the demon just killed their adversary. If they survive, gained a powerful ally. Win-win. Just a poke for this chick, a whole hand for a warrior that killed 60 people, and a butt done for a demon. Most of the time, Muzan can assess how much blood is needed for any given person. If he has doubts, he can look at the aura and see their power level. Come on, even lower ranks can do that. Luckily, 99% of pillars cannot access the transparent world and suppress their aura like Tanjiro on this page. But that means Muzan probably did not see Kakushibo's aura, and this begs the question, how did he know how much blood to give to Kakushibo without killing him? Well, we don't actually know whether he gave him more blood after turning. The two brothers were naturally gifted and no one could match their level. Granted, Yorichi surpassed Michikatsu at everything, that's why he was able to defeat Muzan, but Michikatsu was the second best, and that might have been enough to achieve the highest rank with just a single infusion. Yeah, it is possible he did not have to eat anyone in 400 years, and he's that strong and cool just because of nepotism. Now let's talk about Akaza. I already expressed my doubts about him being able to turn Rengoku, but even if he could, he wouldn't do that out of respect for his opponent. He is a consistent character that respects strength and scoffs at the weak. Since he called Rengoku the strongest human, it wouldn't make sense for him to start turning him by force all of a sudden, so this example is weak. And finally, the idea that Muzan doesn't need former slayers is preposterous too. Mainly because 500 years ago he did exactly that, asked a slayer to turn, and succeeded. His recruiting doesn't make a lick of sense. He was practically begging an invalid to accept his gift, kept showing up and checking up on the guy trying to convince him that being a demon is cool. Yeah, immobilizing a slayer and then turning them forcefully or by means of psychological trickery? Nah, we don't need good fighters here. A person with disability? Sign him up! All this talk about preventing demonization is baseless and just goes to show how far people are willing to go to make excuses for their favorite thing. And I'm gonna be the villain here, cause Muzan is actually a good guy for saving this child from suffering and granting him eternal life. This theory was crafted on Reddit, which makes it a million times funnier. Reddit? Seriously? It's such a credible source of facts. You know, I had fun beating the hell out of the straw man. But the moral of the video is, don't just parrot something that sounds good online. Do your own research, check the sources, read the manga, and watch the anime closely. Just pay attention. And you should not trust me either. Who knows, maybe I edited the text on one of the pages, or drew something just to make it fit my argument better. Don't be an NPC. Kisses.